Good evening, everyone. I am Sheena Sway and today I will be discussing the overview of the encoding and decoding model of Stuart Hall. So, before we start, let us first know who Stuart Hall is. So, Stuart Henry MacPhail Hall, or known as Stuart Hall, was born in Jamaica on February 3, 1932. He was a Jamaican-born British Marxist, sociologist, cultural theorist, and political activist. So his works laid the foundation for British cultural studies, a field that examines how culture shapes and is shaped by society. So in 1960s, Hall joined the Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies or the CCCS at the University of Birmingham. It is a hub for innovative ideas about culture and society, alongside scholars like Richard Hogarth and Raymond Williams. Hall expanded the field to include critical examinations of race, gender, and media, integrating ideas from influential thinkers such as Michel Foucault. So Hall Hall's works emphasize that culture is not neutral. Instead, it operates as a battleground for power and influence. Drawing from Gramsci's concept of hegemony, Hall showed how dominant groups use culture to gain consent and maintain control. For instance, media coverage on immigration often frames immigrants through a lens of suspicion or threat. This reinforces stereotypes and social divisions. So, one of Hall's most influential theories is his encoding and decoding model, which reshaped how we understand communication. Traditional communication models assume a linear process where a sender transmits a message and the receiver passively accepts it. So Hall challenged this view, arguing that audiences actively interpret messages based on their own cultural, ideological backgrounds. And Hall outlined three ways audiences interpret media messages. First is the dominant reading, where audiences fully accept the intended meaning. For example, viewing a government public service announcement as trustworthy and accurate. Number two is negotiated reading, where audiences accept parts of the message but adapt it to their own experiences. For example, someone might agree that climate change is a problem, but they reject specific policy solutions as impractical. And lastly is the oppositional reading, where audiences reject the intended meaning. For example, interpreting an advertisement as manipulative and refuses to buy this product. So, Hall's theory helps explain why people interpret the same event differently. For example, after the 9/11 event, Western audiences largely saw the attacks as acts of terror against freedom, while some in the other regions viewed them as a reactions to geopolitical injustices. These divergent readings shows that media messages are not universally understood but are shaped by cultural and ideological context. So this Hall's insights have left an enduring impact on cultural studies by showing that audiences are active participants in interpreting media. And he empowers us to critically analyze how culture shapes our perception in the world. And his groundbreaking ideas redefined culture as a dynamic space where power is negotiated and meaning is contested. And his works continues to inspire us to question and challenge the narratives that shape our culture. So before I end my topic, let me read this assertion of Hall that says, culture is a site of negotiation and struggle. So this emphasized that culture is neither static nor neutral. Instead, it is a dynamic space where meanings, values, and social norms are constantly debated and contested. This perspective reveals how culture operates as a medium for power dynamics, where dominant groups work to maintain control by embedding their values as the norm, and while the marginalized groups resist and challenges these narratives. So that's all for the overview of the encoding and decoding model.